So I picked my head up. Well, didn't she pick her head up and look at me? Guys, we're headed home, headed up I-99 here in Pennsylvania, the Keystone State. It's a whole lot of brown. And had some questions here. I put out a post and asked people what they'd like to see. A lot of it was me talking about different things, but the big one being how did I get into hauling a tank, and sorry, watching this guy's doing here. This guy who apparently stopped to pee on the side of the road rather than at this exit. But anyway, I guess I'll start with my background. I am a third generation truck driver. I've been driving almost 20 years. I do have a video posted that says all of this, but I joined the Army at 17 so I could drive truck. Was the quickest and easiest way. With all them two old Macs down there, old B models. Anyway, it was the quickest way I could drive truck legally. At 18 you can drive intrastate, and you gotta wait till you're 21 to drive interstate. So it was just the quickest way I could get into a truck and get driving. So I joined the Army and went to Fort Hood, Texas, and I hauled M1, back then it was A1 Abrams tanks. I think when I got out they were up to the A4 if I'm not mistaken, but that was in 05 when I got out. So I did that for 2.5 years in Korea, or excuse me, at Fort Hood, and then I got sent to Korea. And my first wife at the time got sent over there, and we were joint domicile, so they sent me over there, and I ended up being a colonel's driver. I was supposed to go to a HET platoon up on the DMZ, and while I was in flight on my way over there, they pulled me into a unit in Yongsan, Seoul, and I was in the colonel driver's slot for the 18th Medcom. And I didn't do that job at first. I was a training NCO's assistant who was also an 88 Mike, which is a truck driver. And did that for about a year, and then the driver, well, we switched colonels, and at that point they made me the colonel's driver. So I did that until I got out in 05. I was there, well, like 2.5 years. It was just shy of 2.5 years that I was there. Anybody who's in the military knows that Korea is a hardship tour, and it's only supposed to be a year. Well, when it came time to come back the first time, my first wife didn't have enough time left on her enlistment, so I got extended, and then she got pregnant and got out. And then when it came time to come back the second time, I didn't have enough time left on my enlistment, so they wouldn't let me come back then. So I ended up ETSing, separating while I was over there. So that's the story on the military time. Well, I got out, and right away wanted to be a truck driver, of course. And what's going to probably surprise you all is I started off at Swift. At the time, Swift was the only place that would take my military experience as experience. So my dad did a lease purchase through Swift back in 05. They were doing W900s. We did a lease purchase on it, and he started off training me, and then him and I ran team. When him and I couldn't stand each other anymore, I got a truck of my own, lease purchase, and ran it about 8 months, and I had a falling out with that company, and there was an issue with logs. They were losing logs, and they wanted me to turn in logs, and they went back like 9 months and said I had all these missing logs, which I had turned in, and I heard stories about what happened later on, but I can't confirm that, so it doesn't really matter. So anyway, long story short, I've had a few truck driving jobs since I got out, but the way I got into tank was I was hauling frac sand. I was hauling frac sand in a bulk tank, and fracking slowed down, and there wasn't enough work at the company that I was at, and this situation presented itself. This situation was a program that the company I'm leased to had going on, where they were purchasing used long hood trucks and doing custom work to them and doing lease purchases on them. Lease purchase is basically just what it sounds like. I don't know why they call it a lease purchase. I guess because you have the option to buy it, but any lease you always have the option to buy out at the end, so I don't really get that. But, well, not any lease necessarily, but vehicle leases. So, a lot of traffic out for Black Friday this time of the day. Maybe it's not a lot of traffic, but for this year, it's a little more than I expected. But anyway, so this truck, big secret, is a lease purchase. I have somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 lease payments left on it, and then I will have a $26,000 balloon payment that will have to be made, or I can get financing for it somewhere or whatever. But that's the story with my truck. The only way, I wanted a pre-emissions truck. I didn't want to deal with DPF and or DEF, which truck drivers will know what I'm talking about, and they were the only people that were doing used trucks at the time, trucks that old. Yeah, I don't know exactly what was going on there, but was trying not to get up along beside these people so they could move over if they needed to. But this is Altoona right here, real quick, I'll say, and it is about 84 miles from my house to here. This is the closest place to go to a Texas Roadhouse or any Olive Garden, any of the big restaurants that most people go to. Yeah, this is the closest place to my house. I live in the sticks. So anyway, I ended up at the company I'm leased to and pulling tank. I had never pulled liquid tank before, and I had to get my hazmat, had to get my liquid tank endorsement, which liquid tank endorsement's pretty easy to get. Hazmat's not quite as easy. And got all of that and started at QC, and a lot of people that did this program either have sold their trucks since then. He just had to pass me so he could get off up here. It's funny. People are amazing. lot of people have gotten out of the program, sold their trucks, gave them back, turned them in, whatever. I'm pretty hell-bent on paying this one off. I kind of love my truck. I always tell everybody it's always for sale, but I do love it. I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this truck. So I get questions a lot on whether I bought it like this or not. The general scheme of things is that it was bought this way. The paint was on it, the interior was painted. If you follow me on Instagram or look me up on Instagram at Bel Air Peterbilt, it looked a lot different back when I first got it. For instance, the tops of the air cleaners were white. My tanks were turquoise, and I had half fenders, they were turquoise, and this drop visor that everybody says is too low was raw stainless, as were the window chops. So it looked a little bit different. It also had a big stainless ring around the windshields. We just recently changed all of that. It is in my videos if you go back and watch them. I had a guy drive into this side of it in February, and we changed all of that while it was in the body shop. Because one thing about trucking and owning a truck that a lot of people don't understand is downtime costs more than anything else. Because not only are you paying to have something done like that, body work, you're also losing income at the same time. It's not like having a normal truck driving job or any job where you take a day off, you just lose your income. We lose what it costs to have the repairs done, and we lose the income, which could be thousands of dollars. This truck has a $2,300 a month payment on it. The company I'm leased to, and this is where trucking companies call them lease purchases, it is through a third-party lender, which is a trucking lender. I have friends who have used them to buy trucks, but mine is through the company that I'm with. They basically co-signed the loan for me, or the lease for me. So I'm not necessarily stuck. There's ways that I can put money down on the truck and I can take it other places. I don't really want to do that. I like what I do. I like pulling liquid tank. I've done most other facets of the industry. I pulled reefer. I had my own authority for 2 years, and I had my own reefer then. I had my own flatbed then. There's pluses and minuses to that. Now, like that thing right there, everybody always asks me about. One of the negatives to being leased to the company I'm at is they require us to have that thing. I really haven't been angered to the point where I want to leave. I like what I'm doing, so I, air quote, allowed them to, got a truck on the right shoulder up here, and oh, with a Smokey Bear behind him. I'm going to take this moment to say, in most states it is now state law, you move over or slow down for flashing lights, or slow down, not move over and slow down like we just did. But I mean, I understand the idea of safety, but that's why you move over or slow down, not move over and slow down. There's a big difference. But anyway, that's how I got into tanking. Now, tanking, pulling liquid tanks are unbaffled. I've replied to a lot of comments that ask me about the baffles in the tanks because I pull liquid chemicals. It's a open cylinder. It's what they call a smooth bore inside there, just like any container you have at your house or anything else. So that liquid moves from one end of the trailer to the other, to the tune of about 45,000 pounds on average is what I have in the tank. You'll hear me talk about it in my videos, but the reason why it's smooth bore is because we haul chemicals. You have to be able to get all of that chemical out of the inside of that trailer, and if it had baffles in it, there would be a chance of that chemical getting stuck in those areas, and then when you put another chemical in it, they could possibly react. Not necessarily always would, but it's happened. It has happened. There's even what we call prior products, which means that you can't put certain products in the tank after another product, whether it's been washed out or it hasn't been washed out. You can't do it. You can't put certain products one behind the other. So that's how I got into tanking. I know it's was a big drawn out thing. I have a feedback problem. I think I got water in my plug for one of my lights down there. I'm gonna have to check it out when I get home. But anyway, some of the questions, trying to think of the other ones that I got asked here on the post. Automatics versus stick shift, that's another one. I don't have anything against an automatic. While this engine was being put in this truck, I rented a truck from the company I'm leased to. It was a Freightliner. It had a 13-liter Detroit in it with a 12-speed automatic. It's quite handy to have an automatic driving truck. However, pulling liquid tank, I don't feel it's the best option, because you've heard me talk about the surge and how I have to shift according to the surge. Well, an automatic doesn't know where that surge is at inside that tank, so you get beat up pretty good, in my opinion. Obviously, there's going to be people that disagree, but I like having.
Where are we going with this, Chief? Alabama Freightliner. What's that? Alabama Freightliner. Roger.
There was a tow truck going the other way. They were talking to each other. I don't have nothing against an automatic. In fact, if I was doing something other than tank, I would consider putting an automatic in this truck at some point in time, because it's kind of nice when you get in traffic not having to shift. Now it does, that one I was driving did some weird stuff, like when you turn the engine brake on, the Jake brake on, and as soon as you touch the brake pedal, it would downshift to 2200 RPMs, and that's just unheard of to me. I know old trucks used to run that fast, but most new trucks, you know, that high RPMs, most new trucks don't run that high RPMs. Like, you'll very rarely see me over 1800 RPMs, even on a downshift. So automatics, I don't have nothing against them. When you're pulling liquid tank, the old stick shift definitely has an advantage over that. I get flack all the time about this not being a cat, and I should have a cat, and cats are the best thing, and blah blah blah. I don't have nothing against the cat either. They just tend to cost more to maintain. Parts are more expensive for them. Filters are more expensive for them. And of course, there's going to be people who disagree with me. That's fine. We can agree to disagree. That's a bulk tank. Oh, no, my bad. That's a milk tank. Oh, what was another one? The craziest thing I've ever seen, probably at the top of my head, I'm going to say, is years ago I was hauling mail when I was on my way home, and I happened to see a truck going the other way. It was a big truck pulling a bulldozer, had steam coming out of it. And let me back up and say I was in my pickup truck on my way home. And I was home every day when I had that job. And saw the truck going the other way, and I thought, oh, he must hit a bear or something really big, because you know, steam coming out of it, and the windshield looks smashed and stuff. He's trying to get the truck stopped. Well, it was through a median strip wider than this one, and I'm actually going to pass that point on my way home here today. But then I saw a Jeep in the middle, and this was in the winter time, and I realized the Jeep, and looking at it, the big truck had T-boned the Jeep. So what had happened was the Jeep was on my side of the road, and he hit an icy bridge like this one here we're about to go over, and he slid down through the median strip, and the truck T-boned him right in the side. I was the first one there, and I seen it, put my truck in four-wheel drive down through the median strip, back up the other side. I was the first one there. The gentleman driving the Jeep did not make it. That's all I can say about all of that. He was not in the vehicle when I got to him, and we did what we could for him, but this guy next to me is going to speed up, because that's what guys next to me do. Now, I haven't bumped my cruise at all, just for the record. My foot's not on the throttle. But anyway, a nurse stopped, and so she was taking care of him at the time. So I went to the vehicle because I knew as soon as the fire department got there. See, in Pennsylvania, we have all volunteer fire departments except for in the big cities. I don't know about that, whether they are or not in the cities, but I know out here in the rural areas, it's all volunteer. So they were kind of ways away. So I knew when they got there, the first thing they were going to do was unhook the vehicle, or unhook the battery. Well, I lifted the hood to unhook the battery, and it wasn't there. So I bent down underneath it. It was a Jeep Cherokee, late 80s Jeep Cherokee. I bent down underneath it, and the gears were hanging out of the transfer case. That's how hard that big truck T-boned that Jeep. So now again, it obviously wasn't the truck's fault. He had glass in his face, because when it hit, the hood came up and it pushed the hood. See, hoods on trucks, they roll away from the windshield. So when it hit the hood, it pushed it up into the windshield, and the glass shattered, and it blew shards of glass in his face. And he was bleeding, not real bad, but he had glass shards in his face. Of course, in Pennsylvania, the only person that can pronounce a person DOA or dead, period, is the coroner. So the coroner came out and pronounced him dead on the scene. So that's probably the worst thing. Granted, I wasn't in a truck, but I was on my way home from truck driving. I've seen all kinds of accidents. Same job, I had a family pass me one time, and about 50 miles up the road, they had driven up a bank like this one and rolled over, and the whole family was ejected from the vehicle. The mom was in the back holding the baby. The baby wasn't in a car seat. The little girl didn't have her seatbelt on. The dad had fallen asleep, and he drove up a bank and it rolled over. Those are the bad things. I've seen a lot of good things over the years too. People helping people, and it just, people don't realize how much bad stuff you see as a truck driver, and it gets a little downheartening sometimes. But that's life. It happens. It's the same way with anybody who's been in the military. Tell you the same thing. You see all kinds of crap. Law enforcement officers, EMTs. There's a lot of, daily jobs where people see just absolutely horrific stuff. And those people that see it every day almost, EMTs and law enforcement officers, firemen, yeah, I feel bad for those people. But another thing that was brought up, question that was asked was lot lizards. If you're not familiar with the terminology, that is what is also referred to as commercial company. Call girls, hookers, prostitutes, whatever you want to call them. Honestly, back in the 70s, 80s, even into the 90s, maybe even early 2000s, they were fairly prevalent. You would see them in truck stops. I've been propositioned by them. My wife was actually with me when I had my own authority. She had to use the restroom, so she started off to the truck stop, and this glimmer of something crossed my vision. I was putting my boots on. I've always worn lace-up boots just a byproduct of being in the military. I can't do pull-on boots. They drive me nuts. My socks fall down in them. Drives me crazy. Or we'll listen to Bella. Nose is itchy. Sorry, camera's probably bouncing. So anyway, this, you know, I got my head down basically like this, and obviously I can't keep my head down because I'm driving, but this glimmer goes past the front of the truck, so I pick my head up. Well, didn't she pick her head up and look at me? And she comes around the truck. Now, back in the day, we didn't have this kind of window chop that's flat. This is actually what they call a window chop. We used to have vent shades. I know some of you remember them, stainless steel vent shades. They stuck out off the truck. Now, I had extra long ones. They were about 2.5 inches. But they just were at an angle off the, kind of like a roof or something off the side of the window. So my 01 Peterbilt had the mirrors attached to the doors. So she grabs the mirror arm, she pulls herself up on my truck, and wham, right into that stainless. You can see the edge of this one a little bit, or that edge out there. I mean, that stainless it's razor sharp. You really have to, you know, terminology, razor sharp. You have to watch you don't cut yourself. But she hit her head right into it. Almost knocked herself right off the side of my truck. Now keep in mind, I'm married and my wife's in the truck stop. So she reaches in the window and grabs my junk. And I hadn't been out of the service very long, maybe 3 years. So it startled me, so I grabbed her wrist, which startled her. She jumped down off the truck. She said, "Have a nice day." I said, "You too." And she walked away. My wife came out. I told my wife about it. She's like, "Oh, damn, I would have liked to have seen that." She was just all in awe. Back then, they used to talk on the CB radio and, you know, ask if anybody wanted any commercial company. They don't do that anymore. Everything's online, so I've been told. I don't participate, just letting you know. Never have participated. Never had to pay for sex. But not that I have anything against people who do. It's not my point, but I've just never had to. So, yeah, commercial company is all online now. Now, I have been out in Nevada where it's legal, and I wish I had my YouTube channel back then, because that's a pretty interesting situation out there. Like, there's this place called the Alien, I think it's Alien Cat House. It was on my route. One trip we used to go into this customer on a regular basis. We run right up past it. I know some of you out there watching know where it's at. I actually just saw it in another YouTuber's video here not long ago, Savage Garage. They were out there on a rally, and they were at the gas station across the street from it. Oh, it's going to be a slow trip up the mountain, because he's heavy. Guarantee it. So we're going to have to follow him up the mountain. About to see some Pennsylvania 2 lanes here. I know there's other states that have them. Pennsylvania's got lots of them. They like to put the roads right next to the creeks. Here we call it a crick. That's one of the fun things about being a truck driver. You get to go all over the country and hear everybody's different accent. I get picked on for my accent. Like I say Eaton, like E-A-O-N, or something like that. I don't even know how you would spell it, but I don't enunciate the T, so I've gotten picked on for that. I noticed I said tour a little bit ago, meaning tour. I generally don't say that word a lot, but I did notice I said it a little bit ago on camera. So see, there's the creek. It's just a little itty bitty creek, or crick if you're from here. But anyway, whoo, that thing's leaning. I come up through here one time. My brother drives truck, and I rode with him one time in a tri-axle dump truck up this road. And I've done a lot of things and driven a lot of things, but boy, that thing had me puckering that day. And he had already done it for a long period of time, so he was used to it. But yeah, we're about to start up the mountain. Not really a mountain, you can see the top of it up there, but it's a pole. This is a 6% grade. When we get to the top, I'll try and remember to show you. There's a truck pull off at the top, and most places in the country, but Pennsylvania, I know especially, anytime you have a steep grade like this, you have to stop at the top when you're in a semi truck, and come to a complete stop and then start down off of it. And then of course there's a truck speed. Of course traffic's gonna stack up behind us, but it is what it is. He can't make it go any faster than he is. We're at 1500 6th direct. My bellow, of course, isn't even trying with just an empty trailer. No boost. That's how you can tell she's not even really pulling at all. This is where it gets steep. We're going to start slowing down. Told you. Down to 1200 RPMs, 25 miles an hour. Really probably should have just done half a gear, but and we'll split it. That's 5th overdrive. Now I have come up this hill a couple times with this truck loaded.
Let's get back up there, Phillipsburg here, Gary.
But not with this motor.
I can't help you much. I only went from Tyrone to here. Oh, you come up 453 there. Yeah.
If you're going on down 99, you look good down that way. I didn't see nothing clear down to the turnpike.
Appreciate it. Like I said, I didn't see anything. We can follow you guys back to Woodland there. That's where I come out of.
So there's our bear/traffic report, which we're going to be on 2 lanes clear to where he was talking about. Woodland. Gonna get on the interstate there, Interstate 80. If you like the story time, let me know. Drop a comment, let me know. Keep letting me know what you guys want to see. I'll try and cover any aspects I can. I'll have to write down the questions or something from my post in the community, they call it. See, it gets steep right here again, but I'll write down the questions and I'll try and cover some of them, and maybe once a week I'll do this story time thing. It'll just be like this, me wearing the POV hat and talking, telling you guys this truck driver stories. That's what they call them. You know how you can tell when a truck driver's lying? His mouth is open. We're coming down here into town. We're coming up to one of the stopping areas I was talking about. And as you can see, there's a truck speed limit, 20 miles an hour. Trucks over 21,000 pounds, gross weight must stop. Considering we were 35,000 empty the other day up in Wisconsin, we will be stopping. Obviously, he's going to stop. And honestly, when you're in a car and you're following trucks, you look forward to these places. I'm not going to lie. Because, of course, the cars are going to go by us while we're stopping. There's only a couple of them. In the afternoon, but since it's a day off, and I know pretty much everybody's home, I'm not going to run a jake brake very much here in town. He might be, I don't know, but if I was loaded, I would. I'm not going to lie. Studies show that trucks with engine brakes are quieter than trucks hitting houses, and when they're this close to the road, you don't take any chances. As you can see, this is the end of the truck 20 mile an hour speed limit right here in the town square. And a red light. So imagine if you lost your brakes coming down that hill and you had to come down here to this. There's a town up by my house, north of my house, where they completely diverted truck traffic off the other side of the mountain because they had so many people come off the hill and they come into a town similar to this one, and they ended up in a church in the bottom of it. And one time a guy went into the church and I don't think he made it. Yeah, he made it to the church, but nobody got hurt. It wasn't a day people were in the church, so they put in what they call a truck bypass, which I'm kind of surprised this town hasn't done, so to speak, because US 322 is right up here on the other side of town. We're going to go through it at the next red light or the one after that. But I've seen a lot of comments of people who don't like my jake brake, my engine brake, and my pipes. I even got called scum because people who, how did he say it? Doing quotes here. People who use their jake brake or engine brake when not in the mountains are the scum of the human race. I think that's how he put it. I guess it's easy to be that way until it's your house that a truck goes through. And again, these people around here are pretty much used to it. And I live on a road, literally right next to a road. I live about that far from a road, that line right there. So I am quite used to it. But anyway, on that note, we'll wrap up this video here. Watching traffic here. Go ahead and wrap this video up. Keep a shiny side up. Rubber on the ground. Safe travels. We'll see you in the next one.